Questions are power, but realize this: every kind of power comes with a price tag. Use it to shut people up and you're just a manipulator. Use it to wake them up and you become a philosopher. Take Socrates. The guy never lost a single debate. Not because he was always right, but because he never entered a debate trying to win. While everyone else was draining their energy, trying to defend their hot takes, he simply asked questions. Each one sharp as a knife, he cut through their arguments until they collapsed under their own weight. He never yelled. He never tried to look like the smartest guy in the room. He used silence and logic, weapons few people have the patience or discipline to master. And today, I'm handing you 5 questions known as the Socratic Method. If you master this art, you won't just win debates, you'll control conversations, situations, and people. But remember, this power isn't for people seeking attention. It's for those seeking mastery over others and over themselves. Before we dive into the 5 questions, let's get why asking always beats arguing and why these specific questions are so lethal. When someone argues, they expose themselves. They build a tower of words. But here's the thing about towers: they can fall. If you pull just one brick from the foundation, the whole thing comes down. A questioner doesn't build towers. They dig. They dig right down to the base of the belief. And when the ground gives way, the structure collapses. A question is invisible, yet it hits with the force of truth. You can't lose when you ask. A statement can be wrong. A genuine question? That can't be wrong. Here's the psychological edge. Arguments make people defensive. Questions make them think. Socrates knew this. He understood that the ego always wants to be right, so instead of attacking it, he invited people to draw a map of their own beliefs. And when they reached the edge of that map, they realized the ground beneath them was just sand. This was never about winning. It was about freedom from illusion. Part 1. How do you know that's true? It sounds simple, almost harmless. But this question is the seed of collapse. Everyone has beliefs, yet almost no one truly knows why they believe them. Most beliefs are inherited, copied, or just absorbed unconsciously from the crowd. I heard it somewhere. Everybody knows that. It's just obvious. Those answers are proof they've never actually looked at the roots of their own convictions. Because 99% of people don't live by thinking, they live by repetition. They believe not in what is true, but in what they've heard the most. They believe social media is destroying the world. They believe success requires a college degree. They believe happiness means having more money. But when you ask them, how do you know that's true? They freeze. They have no answer. And when someone can't defend where their belief comes from, they start to lose belief in themselves. They realize that what they called truth was just emotion dressed up as logic. Socrates understood that every unexamined belief is dangerous, because what you don't examine controls you. One afternoon in Athens, a confident young man confronted him. He said, "Your philosophy is useless. Reality is the only truth." Socrates smiled and asked one question. "How do you know that's true?" The young man replied, "Because everyone says so." Socrates leaned in. "Everyone or you?" No one remembers what the young man said next, only that he walked away in silence. Because for the first time in his life, he realized he had never truly thought how to use this in real life. When someone says, "This task can't be done," don't argue, just ask, "Are you sure?" Based on whose experience? When someone tells you you're going to fail, ask, "What makes you so certain?" Then, stay silent. Don't try to win. Silence cuts deeper than words because it forces people to hear their own thoughts. And here's the advanced variation. What would have to be true for that to be false? That single question flips logic upside down and forces them to see the blind spots in their own mind. Sometimes it's powerful enough to make people who thought they knew everything sit still like statues. Part 2. What are you assuming? Every argument is an iceberg. What you see is only the tip. What lies beneath those invisible assumptions are what keep it afloat. Take this example. People should go to college because college leads to good jobs. Sounds reasonable, right? But beneath the surface, you're assuming everyone wants the same kind of job. You're assuming the value of life is measured in money. You're assuming college always leads to success. Peel away those layers, and the original argument starts to shake. The person speaking starts to think. This question doesn't destroy by attacking. It destroys through awareness. It shines a light on the foundation high no one ever looks at. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Because most people don't live by truth. They live inside untested assumptions. They say, "I need other people's approval," but they never stop to ask, "What makes me believe I need that?" A young soldier once asked Marcus Aurelius, "My emperor, how can I avoid being offended?" And the emperor answered, "By understanding that words cannot offend unless you assume they can." The question, "What are you assuming?" is a mirror reflecting the illusions we've built our lives on. So, how do you use it? When someone says, "I'm not good enough," Nandarus asks, "Compared to who?" In that moment, you've shattered the wall of comparison, one of the deepest roots of human suffering. When they say, "Everyone should follow this path," ask, "Are you assuming everyone wants the same kind of life?" That's how you strike at the foundation, the hidden layer of belief where truth lies buried. Part 3. What evidence would change your mind? This is the line that separates the thinker from the believer. A rational mind says, "If there's better evidence, I'm willing to change." But a blind believer says, "Nothing could ever change my mind." And the moment they say that, you don't need to continue, because they've already admitted it. Reason no longer lives there. This is the question most people fear because it forces them to face an uncomfortable truth. If no evidence could ever change their view, then they aren't thinking anymore. They are worshiping their own belief. Try it in a real conversation. Someone says crypto is just a scam. You ask, what kind of evidence would make you change your mind? If they say, "Nothing, I'd never change," you've already won. They've confessed. They are no longer guided by logic, but by pride. This question divides the learner from the believer. The learner adjusts when truth appears. The believer defends their ego, even when truth stands right in front of them. Epictetus once taught, "No man can learn what he thinks he already knows." That's what this third question truly is, a test of humility. If you can't point to the kind of evidence that would prove you wrong, then you've become a prisoner of your own certainty. Here's how to use it in everyday life. When someone tries to force their beliefs on you, simply ask, if new facts appeared, would you be open to re-examining your view? If they say no, you've seen the limits of their mind. If they say yes, you've just opened the door to wisdom. Part 4. What would someone who disagrees with you say? This question forces people to step outside themselves, and for most, that is the hardest thing in the world to do. The weak want to win, the smart want to understand, but the wise seek to understand even those who oppose them. This question is a test of comprehension. If you can't describe your opponent's view accurately, you don't truly understand the issue. Someone says, capitalism is the best system. You ask, what would someone who disagrees say? If they reply, oh, they're just jealous because they're poor, they've just admitted they've never really listened. Americans grow up surrounded by debate, but most of it is shouting, not dialogue. This question teaches what Marcus Aurelius once told his son. To understand another man's argument better than he does himself, that is the height of wisdom. Picture this: a discussion at an old military academy about discipline. A young officer stands up and says, "The army is fair. Whoever breaks the rules is punished." Then an older instructor leans forward and asks, "And what if the rule itself was written by an unjust man?" The room falls silent. That is the power of a perspective shift. It opens a door they never knew existed. How to use this in real life. In a political argument, don't rush to counter. Ask, if you were born in another country, Would you still think the same? In a personal conflict, ask, if you were me, how would you feel? One question can melt the ice of an entire conversation because it touches something deeper than logic. It reaches empathy. Part 5. What would happen if everyone thought like you? This is the final strike. The question that drags an argument out of the clouds and throws it into reality. Someone says, people should be free to do whatever they want as long as they don't hurt anyone. Sounds noble, doesn't it? But ask, if everyone truly lived that way, who decides what hurt means? What about emotional pain? Long-term harm? Suddenly, that beautiful idea begins to crumble because it cannot survive when taken to the edge of its own logic. Socrates called this reductio ad absurdum, pushing a belief to its limit to see if it still holds true. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What is right cannot be right only for you. It must be right for all." A thought only has value if it can be universal. If a principle collapses the moment you apply it to everyone, it isn't truth. It's a disguise for selfishness. When someone says, "Relax, I only lied a little," ask if for everyone lied a little, would trust still exist? When they say, "I did it because everyone does it," ask if everyone thought that way, who would be the first to stop? This question is a mirror. It reflects the consequences they refuse to face, and in that reflection, the illusion of moral comfort shatters. Part 6. Advanced Tactics, the Strategic Silence. After you ask, say nothing. Let the silence do the work. Silence forces the other person to face their own thoughts. Most people can't handle it, so they rush to fill the void, and in doing so, they reveal what they didn't mean to say. The clarification loop. When their answer is vague, ask, "Can you explain that a bit more?" Then ask again and again. Keep looping until they realize they don't actually understand themselves. The example. Trap. Ask for something concrete. Can you give me a real example of that? Watch how grand statements begin to crumble the moment they have to meet reality. The consistency check. You said A earlier, and now you're saying B. How do those fit together? No one can outrun logic forever. Eventually, their own contradictions will corner them. Part 7. The art of defense. When someone uses it on you. If someone starts using the Socratic method on you, don't react. Understand they aren't attacking you. They are testing the truth within you. Stay calm and say, "That's a good question, but what's your view on it?" Pull them out from behind their wall of questions and bring the conversation back to balance. And always remember, not every conversation requires logic. There are moments when the Socratic method should not be used. When someone is in pain or anger, reason doesn't heal emotion. When you're speaking to a boss or a professor, they may mistake curiosity for a challenge. When a quick decision is needed, too much analysis kills action. And in close relationships, questioning too much feels less like listening and more like judgment. A true Stoic philosopher doesn't just know how to speak wisely, they know when. Part 8. Applying it to modern life in the workplace. Instead of commanding, "Do it this way," ask, "What risks do you see if we did the opposite?" You won't just get an answer. You'll earn trust and alignment because people commit more deeply to ideas they helped create. In sales, don't push, don't pressure. Lead with curiosity. Ask, if everything stays the same, what will your situation look like 6 months from now? The right question doesn't convince. It awakens clarity, and clarity sells better than persuasion ever could. In parenting and education, instead of shouting, ask, "What do you think will happen if you do that again?" That moment of reflection is where maturity begins. That's not control, that's awakening in love. When arguments rise, don't ask to win. Ask to connect. What do you need most to feel heard right now? Because sometimes it's not logic that saves a relationship. It's empathy disguised as a question. A single honest question can do what 1,000 clever words never could. Conclusion. The ethics and responsibility of using this power. Socrates was sentenced to death, not because he spoke lies, but because he asked too many questions that were true. And that is the lesson for us all. Questions are power, but every power comes with a price. Use them to silence others and you become a manipulator. Use them to awaken others and you become a philosopher. Ask not to win, ask to awaken. There are 3 virtues you must protect. Intellectual humility. You don't have all the answers. Sincere curiosity. Ask to understand, not to conquer. Collaborative thinking. Seek dialogue, not dominance. And 4 vices you must guard against. Intellectual arrogance. Believing you stand above others. Humiliation, disguised as wisdom. Using questions to wound, not to heal. Endless skepticism, tearing everything down and building nothing back. The judge's mindset, believing you alone hold the truth. One day when you face someone loud, stubborn, or angry, remember, you don't need to shout to be right. You only need to ask softly to make them think. Because true power is not in making others listen to you, but in making them hear themselves. Socrates once asked humanity one simple question. Are you sure you truly understand yourself? And maybe, just maybe, it's the one question the world still hasn't answered. The 5 Socratic questions are not weapons for debate. They are exercises in wisdom for a Stoic mind that seeks mastery, not victory. Don't react. Observe. Don't impose. Guide us. Don't fight. Discover. Use them to question others. But first, use them to question yourself. Because the one who learns to ask the right questions no longer fears any answer. And if you've reached this point, you're already part of a rare group. Those who seek truth, not applause. So if this message spoke to you, leave a comment below with just 3 words. I choose awareness. Let that be your commitment to live, to question, and to grow with the calm strength of a Stoic mind. And if this journey inspires you, subscribe, share, and let's keep building a world where wisdom speaks louder than noise. This is Stoic Strata.